All right, Carl, I told you, just like the Nothing Phone 2 launch, we want to make this big. So this is our welcome to you in India. We're here, of course, at the iconic Bukhara restaurant in ITC in New Delhi. And I thought we'll get a quick bite. This is a little elaborate, isn't it?
I don't know where to start.
So what we'll do is, let's continue eating and talking a little bit about the first thing that we mentioned at the start of the show, which is about innovation, especially in the smartphone consumer tech world. Do you really think it has stalled? And when you see all these foldables and whatnot coming up, do you still think that this is incremental innovation and not monumental?
I definitely think so. I mean, when I was younger, I used to stay up to watch the keynotes from all the tech companies. Like every generation felt so much better than the previous one. Like the steps were not incremental, they were almost exponential. And it wasn't just the hardware, it wasn't just smartphones, it was the iPod, it was the iPad, the tablets came out. But also on the consumer internet and software side, all of a sudden we had a lot of like new social apps to use. And it was also the time of the App Store revolution. So a lot of apps you could download and try every day. So it just felt like at that moment in time, 10, 15 years ago, that things were just improving really quickly. And then in the last couple of years, say 5 years or so, it's gotten very incremental. Every year, let's make the camera slightly better, a little bit bigger, battery a little bit better, tweak the icons a little bit. Sure, there's a foldables thing now, but I think ultimately it's a bit in the news, but ultimately it's going to be a very niche product. It's good that some people are building it, but if you look at how the foldables are evolving, they're all the same again.
That's true.
All the foldables look very similar. If you don't see the logo anymore, you hide the logo on the foldables, I don't think a consumer can really tell them apart.
So it's safe to say that nothing isn't launching a foldable anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. I don't think it's like, I don't think consumers walk around saying, hey, I wish my phone could fold. I think it's an innovation that the manufacturers are pushing on to the consumer.
It's interesting you mentioned that you stayed up for so many keynotes. I still do that because that's...
You still do that?
I have to do that. Unfortunately, I run a tech show and a team that's very enthusiastic about it, but we're also very excited about your keynote that's coming up with the Phone 2. And coming to the Phone 2, Carl, when you launched the Phone 1, it was a mixed bag of reviews. Now you have the Phone 2 coming. We have a few details about it. Well, some of us have been using it as well, but I can't reveal too much. What I can say is Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, a good battery, and there's a huge focus on the cameras. You said, well, cameras are getting slightly better, but when we compare it to the Phone 1, I think there is a monumental change. But I want to understand the rationale for you to go with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip instead of the Gen 2, because you're a marketing genius, but in consumer tech, everyone says flagship, top of the line, top dollar with the flagship chips. You've taken a conscious decision. Why so?
I think this might get a little bit philosophical, but I think as a tech company, what are you actually here for? I think you gotta either enable consumers or users to do what they couldn't do before, or you enable them to do it faster than before, or more cheap than before. Like you just really gotta push things forward as a tech company. But I think a lot of companies that make smartphones, they're just buying all the components from the supply chain around them and then integrating them. What's the value that they're creating? If they don't have a unique point of view on where to take technology and just buy the latest components, that's not a real business. I don't think it's a real company. So for us, it's about picking the right type of ingredients to make the overall package really good. You might say that we don't have the latest, highest spec processor. We still have a really capable one in the 8 Gen 1 Plus from Snapdragon. Just like when we cook a meal, we don't throw all the ingredients onto the table or into the pot. We pick the best combination of stuff. So, you know, on the Phone 1, we used a 7 series processor, like even lower spec processor. It was really controversial at that time. How can you launch a new phone? The processor is old, it's not the 8 series. But actually, we made it perform better than a lot of phones with the 8 series because it's not just about the hardware. A lot of it is about the tuning of the software and how you really make use of the hardware. So I think people got to look at the whole picture and not just at one spec.
That's interesting because while we do associate nothing with the Phone 1 and now the Phone 2, you did consciously start the company in London. That's where you're headquartered. That's where you're based now. That's an interesting choice. We'll get to that as well. But you started off by making a dent or an entry in the audio space. What are we talking about? 1 billion smartphones sold in a year. When it comes to,
300 million.
Yeah, much lesser when it comes to TWS earbuds or headphones, right? So why did we need innovation over there? And this entire transparent design, which seems to have worked for nothing, was it much ado about nothing?
Sometimes I think of us as like an iceberg that's slowly revealing itself. So in 2021, when we made the wireless earbuds, people said, oh, nothing is a music company or an audio company. It's fine to be misunderstood, I think. But the reality is, I think we have a really big vision, but we need to take a very measured and step-by-step approach to try and get there. Because as a startup company in this field, all the cards are stacked against you in the beginning. No employees want to join you. No one wants to give you money. Suppliers and factories don't want to build for you. Like when we were trying to build even the earbuds, people were like, hey, there's so many earbuds on the market. Like you're late to this category. What are you doing? Like, why do you think your product is going to sell? So basically all factories, apart from one, rejected us. They didn't want to build for us. So we needed the first product to prove to the world that our team can design something unique, can manufacture at scale, and it can also sell at scale. And that enabled us to get the next set of people to trust us, be it investors or suppliers or consumers or partners, to make the phone. And now obviously the phone 2 is coming out, so it's a big step up from the phone 1, which is hopefully going to gain us even more trust in the market.
And that's a huge testament to that. Happens to be the fact that a lot of other audio wearable companies are also mimicking the design, so to speak. Established players are trying the transparent design, even in phones. That might be, imitation is the best form of flattery, isn't it, Carl?
I think we're open to this because our vision is to make tech fun again. If it's nothing accomplishing it or the industry as a whole accomplishing it, doesn't really matter. I think today, almost 3 years down the line, the industry has gotten a little bit more fun than before. People are experimenting more with the design and not necessarily just sticking to whatever Apple does anymore. So it doesn't matter if they do it. We're flattered. We're happy. Hopefully it continues.
Make tech fun again. Now that's something that's germane to all of us on Tech Today. When we launched this show, we said that there's so much clutter even in the tech content space over here. And to really be iconoclastic, what we want to do is make tech content credible again. Now, that was our plank. I like the fact that, did you take that from me, Carl?
I don't believe so.
I'm messing with you. But making tech fun again, that's something we've been waiting for while you do savor the dal as well. And the dal makhani is quite an iconic dish, something we wait for days to have when we're at home.
Oh, really?
It's good to welcome you with that.
Let's try it.
But what I was trying to say, Carl, is that making tech fun again, has that been an incredible challenge for you? Especially, you were obviously working at OnePlus. You made it perhaps one of the most aspirational rivals to Apple, and in terms of what they've done with an iPhone. You build a community, you build that trust, you walk away one day, you head to London, you have investors all across Europe, and then you set up nothing. Was that honestly a challenge, given the fact that you did this, one, in the pandemic, two, with a lot of baggage from the amazing work you've done from before, but here it could obviously affect you differently. And then the fact that you need to innovate in a space where suppliers, investors, no one really sees light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but I think I've done a bit in my past life, but it got to a point where I couldn't fully realize the ideas that I had. So I had to do something on my own. So there was a lot of pressure in the beginning. You know, when we got the first investors to wire us the money, it felt like a huge burden. Oh, now we're responsible for somebody else's money. Yeah. What if we mess it up? I remember my parents wanted to invest. And I told them, no, you can't, because I already feel so much pressure from everybody else investing. I don't want to have the opportunity to disappoint my family. Wow. So also when people started joining us, it was really an immense pressure, because now their careers were in our hands. If we mess it up, then we kind of make their careers a little bit worse. So a lot of pressure in the beginning, but I think over time, as we've built the company, launched our products, sold a lot of units, things are getting a bit better. We're getting the hang of things, but making tech fun again is very hard in the tech industry, because if you look around, there's not a lot of unique technology. Everybody's just integrating already existing technology onto the products. I think to really make tech fun again, we need to invent something new. We need to invent new technologies and new ways of interacting with the product. If you look at Apple, they started off as a computer company, but it was the iPod that really made them a mass consumer brand. So I think we're still a very young company, so we need to pick our battles. There's only so much we can do. But when the right time comes, we really need to invent something different and new.
What are your views on India and how have they evolved, Carl? Because you've been visiting for a while with other brands as well. You built a community for another brand. Now you're building it over here in India. One, in terms of the importance of building a community in a country like India, where people are very price conscious, very discerning. And two, also, how has the Indian consumer really evolved over the past decade, perhaps?
I think first it was more about just tapping into this market and selling products, and then came the local manufacturing part. And I think the next stage will be, how can we make this a hub for the entire world for exporting products? I think that's the transition that our entire industry is going through in India. As for the consumers, I think they've always been very demanding. It's like some of the most vocal consumers online on social media, and I don't think that's changed.
Yeah.
But the competition is a lot higher. So when we launched OnePlus before, we had good value for money, good spec, good price.
Yeah.
It was quite unique back then. But today there's many options if that's all you're looking for. So with Nothing, we're trying to do something a little bit different, trying to have a more clear idea of where we want to take the industry and be more unique in our approach to our products and our software. I think overall I think the India market will be really important because we're seeing right now the macroeconomics are not good globally.
Globally.
Yeah, but still in India, we don't feel a recession. The economy is still growing. And there's a lot of youth population, very tech savvy. So we see it as one of our most important strategic markets. We see Apple also coming in quite aggressively. So we can't be too slow. We got to hurry up our plans here as well. So we have a chance of taking some market share before Apple gets too dominant.
I'm just so glad, Carl, that we've been able to do this. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It's been fun.
It's been so much fun. You've been candid. We've sort of enjoyed our meals, but we've left that for now. So what we should do is perhaps enjoy this meal before you move on to your next meeting. And
Sounds
thank
good.
you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
on
me.
Tech Today. Cheers, man.